Abarera, Legos, Ram, Ori, Banish, C10, Demonio, Dinaja, 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 Abarera, Legos, Ram, Ori, Banish, C10, Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio Dinaja 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 Abarera Legos Ram Ori Banish C10 Demonio
Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Apocrypha. Hope you all are doing well. Quick transition over like that. There we go. Let me just make sure that you can hear Mystic over here. Mystic, say something. Oh wait,
You should be able
it
to
would
hear
help.
Mystic.
Yes, you can hear Mystic. Yes.
All right.
So that is awesome. All right. So welcome to Apocrypha. I know we missed a week, because of traveling. So it was kind of hard to do Apocrypha when I was flying in the air. Were we in the air when we were supposed to be doing Apocrypha? Or were we here? I think we got.
We were here. No, we got here on Sunday. So
Yeah, we got here on Sunday. So yeah, we were in the air, either in the air or at an airport.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so doing Apocrypha, um, you know, was kind of impossible. But we're back. I am. If you guys can't tell, hold on a second. This is starting to bother me because I can't see shit. Do a little flip. There we go. Now I can see the fucking monitor. There we go. Okay, good. So, yeah, if you guys can't tell, if you guys are here for my adversary last night, I am in England, because obviously I'm still sitting next to Dyra, and Dyra is still sitting next to me, but we're in her house, where she does her videos and makes her content. So, yeah. Hello, everyone. And Mystic, it's good to see you.
Hello from the other side.
But we haven't seen you in like 2 weeks.
Probably. It's been crazy the last couple of weeks. We had a lot of shit going on.
Yeah, because like obviously last week we didn't do it because we were traveling, and then the week before that I think you had to cancel.
Yeah. I don't remember why, but yeah.
Yeah, so so it's definitely good to have you back.
Good to be back.
So, as per always, Mystic, what big decks do you have for us?
I have the Next World of Tarot.
The what world of tarot?
Next World.
The next world, as opposed to this world? Massive
Very
cards.
large card. Massive. Just like I like my cards.
Mm-hmm.
My decks need to be massive. Thicker. Well, longer than thicker, but still nice and wide. They're not reversible, though, unfortunately.
That's supposed to be, is that a flower? What is that?
It is a flower and barbed wire.
Okay, because it was one of two things. It was either a flower or an anus. It was one of the two.
I hope your
It's
anus
like a
does not look like
prolapse
this. And
Well-
I hope there's no barbed wire on it, because that would hurt. But these are really busy cards. They're super modern. I like them. One of the things I really like about them is they kind of have this modern connectivity. Like they're very readable cards.
Mhm.
You know me, I'm not a fan of words on the card, stuff like that, and I don't really like borders. These just would be prettier without a border to me, and I'm not a fan of the words, but regardless, they have them, and the deck is pretty neat. We did use this one again like a year or two ago, or previously, I should say. But good card stock. They're actually easy to shuffle, surprisingly, because the card stock is a little bit plasticky, a little glossy, which kind of
Okay.
helps, helps do them widthwise, helps shuffle widthwise, so it makes it a little bit easier. So we're gonna pull a couple cards. Let's see what we get. Uh-oh. And this is a deck I've used quite a bit, and we have 100% cups. That's fitting. All right. First card. 6 of Cups.
Okay.
Okay. One of the things I do like to start off with when I do any reading, and I think most people know this, if you've seen me read, it's I look at the cycle of the cards when we're talking about the tip cards, and the 6 of Cups is right smack in the middle, little past the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, something smells like it is burning really bad. Just make
Your
sure.
leg hair?
No, it smells like leg hair. I just want to make sure it's not. Sorry, guys. Double checking. The plug that we're using actually has burnt prawns in it, so I wanted to make sure it wasn't us.
Okay.
Just checking because it smelled really strong there for a minute. Anyway, back to the cup. So we're looking at this cycle of things. This as I do with all cards. And the 6 is kind of right in the middle or just past the middle. So we're working through something that requires us to continue a lot of energy into it. So 6 of Cups here is a representation of reuniting with certain things that are going to get you to your next step. So yes, there's a family here that's kind of sitting out, but you can also see the generational part of this. So think like family reunion, right? I think I need to reconnect to something to get to the next spot. And this is really highly affecting our emotions and how we're dealing with things that are going on in the world right now. So no, that smells really good. Something else is burning. Sorry, a little distracted.
It's all good, dude.
So yeah, that's where we're starting off with. We're starting off with this feeling of energy that we need to reconnect to through our friends and family, through the people around us, are reuniting with energies that have sustained us in the past. So that's one really big thing that we need to do. Then we have the 9 of Cups. Now this 9 of Cups, a little bit crazy here, but we're indulging ourselves in this one, right? 9 of Cups represents the coming happiness of emotional sustenance, of getting the things that make us feel good. And this isn't overindulgence either. This is indulgence. The reuniting with some energies that are coming up and that we need to get us through the times that we're having emotionally, and allowing ourselves to indulge in things that are positive. That really will help us move forward. So if things are happening and it feels too good to be true, it's okay. Just let it be true. Let it happen. We don't have to live in misery to be happy sometimes, right? We can move some things and let it happen. The weird thing is that we're ending in the 2 of Cups. The 2 of Cups to me is so much more of a Lovers card than the lovers themselves, because the Lovers is about this big, huge love, massive, this thing. It can be platonic depending on other cards. The 2 of Cups is about the coming together of two people and really focusing on the joys that we just talked about. The 9, right? The happiness that's coming. The 6, the reuniting and using, not necessarily reuniting people, but reuniting energy, like I said earlier, that's going to pull things in. So this week, for me, the energy that's kind of in our thing is the let yourself feel. Let yourself feel things and let it be okay to feel things that you may not always be comfortable with, and let yourself be happy, because there's some self, I don't want to say self-deprecation, but there's some not self-harm either. What's the word I'm looking for? We're denying ourselves pleasure in some ways, emotional pleasure. So we need to be paying attention to that and make sure that we're allowing those emotions to happen naturally and not try to push them away. So I've never had a read on our energy read, because I read energy very different than you read people, and I've never had all the same. I don't think we've ever had all the same suits at once.
Nope. But again, like I always say, man, like your readings always seem to be very accurate to what I've got going on.
Good. And I'm a true earth sign. And I get along as many earth signs do with water signs, because earth can kind of control water, and water can kind of soften the earth. So one of my lessons has been to learn how to better direct my emotions and my emotional energy through the use of water, and water as a learning tool, not as like an actual thing. So sounds like for me too that it's time to keep moving that forward.
Yeah, man, definitely. That was a great read. I mean, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of creepy, like almost to a fucking T, kind of creepy. Incense.
I love it. Yeah, don't burn yourself.
No, I mean the incense is over there burning, but there's like ash of it on the desk over here. All right, so the topic that we're going to be talking about tonight, guys. All right, what we're going to be focusing on. Let me just pull up the notes here. Here we go. All right, so we're going to be looking at the concept of divinity in the LHP versus the RHP and other like polytheistic paths and how that's looked at. So the first thing I kind of want to dive into is to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're all talking about the same thing. I guess what we should do is we should kind of like define divinity, like define the word.
The
So
smell of burning around me right now is divinity.
me off the cuff. This is just me. And I'm sure both Mystic and Dyra are going to have very interesting responses to my outlook on this. So I've always looked at divinity as being kind of like the inherent spiritual connection to the right-hand path, right? So, or if like we're talking about Catholicism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, you know, God, Jesus, where we're talking divinity, right? The divine, you know, and so if you guys notice, like I have a habit, like, you know, I say infernal blessings, right? Because I do make the distinction between divine and infernal. I do not look at, so as a practitioner of the left-hand path, somebody that works with, you know, Baphomet and other what would be called the demonic entities, I don't call them divine. I call them infernal. So I'm very specific about that salutation that I use for those entities. Mystic, what about your thoughts? Like, how would you define divinity?
I think I define like deity and divinity separate. So, and I don't know if you went into both, but divinity to me is more of a like the overarching thing that kind of drives it together. So I kind of believe in like the more of a pantheistic version of energy and deity. There's the universal source. Everything comes from it. Broken up into its bits and pieces is how we manifest in the world now.
Right.
So it's I've said it I think a lot of times. Do I picture an actual entity as a being up in the you know, sky doing I always use carried wind because carried wind has her pot of Awen, right, and she's stirring. I don't see that specifically. What I feel is when I connect to that energy of a deity, I'm connecting to the representation of them in a way that my measly human brain can figure out and work with and engage in. Do I believe it's separate energy? Yes. Do I believe they're distinct? Yes. But I think like they're all part of divinity, which is basically the universal source, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, it's weird. I kind of agree with both of you. Even though the opinions are kind of different, but when you said about divinity being sort of from a right-hand path perspective, it kind of irritates me a bit when people use the term infernal divine. 'Cause I'm like,
it's contradictory.
yeah, exactly. If we look at it from a right-hand path perspective, divinity, like if something's divine, it means it's of God. Therefore, referring to things like angels. You know, you do have somewhat of a crossover, I suppose, with certain demonic entities when it comes to, you know, some of them having an angelic deific mask, let's say, for example, like Samael, being seen as both angelic and demonic and being able to work with both of those aspects, and that kind of blurs the lines a bit. But yeah, when people say things like infernal divine, I'm like, oh, it irritates me because I also feel like infernal divine is like a pretty name for demons, because people don't want to call them demons because they feel like it's offensive. I promise you, the demons aren't offended by them calling you a demon. They're like, they are fine with being a demon. They are fine with being what they are. You don't need to make them feel better about it. But then again, I also agree with Mystic and the way you described it as divinity being like the overarching term for, you know, everything connected to source and everything of source. So, yeah.
Okay, so we have a very obscure definition of what divine is.
Well, if we want to categorize it from my perspective, a different way to say it is, for the purposes of discussion, divinity is the access point to the ethereal, to the other side of things, the other world. It's the doorway to the other world, right?
Right. Okay. So,
because what else? What do you contact demons for? What do you contact deity for? What do you contact anything that's divine or infernal? It's not to do it's to do things that are not of this world, right? It's to bridge that gap, to pull those things together. Whether it's God, if it's a Christian God, I think right hand path fits it in too. They connect to God. That's their connection, and that's how they interact with the other side. That's how they pull in that energy to the mundane to make things happen. Their manifestation portal.
I mean, yeah, I partly agree with that. I partly agree. But I don't know if I would call, like, me personally, like my opinion. I don't know if I would call, that access point divine. Mystic, you still there?
It's having a hard time.
Robot. Yeah, I don't know if it is that you that's breaking up.
It's showing poor signal on your side according to my stuff, but I don't
Poor
know
signal
if that's
on our side.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means. I've never seen it before. Now it's back.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure
I
what's
don't know
going on.
what that was.
I am connected to Wi-Fi, so we might have to figure out a way to getting an Ethernet cable. Does that have an output to?
Oh, I don't know.
All right, I'll check it. Not now. I'm not going to check it right now, but we'll have to look into getting like a stabilized Ethernet connection. But I mean, it's okay for the most part. I mean, as far as the stream is concerned, it's not dropping any frames. It's not choppy, anything like that, which is the important part. We're not streaming at like max bitrate like we were before, because I had gigabit internet before. But it's holding steady and it's doing just fine. So yeah, I don't know if I would call divine, like I would use divine as an access, as the term to describe the access point that you're talking about. I agree that access point exists, like that it brings you over to the other side of, like, you know, what you said called the ethereal. I don't know if I would say that the divine in and of itself is that access point. Because I think when we talk about divine and infernal, we're talking about two different sides of the ethereal, right? So
that probably depends on who you ask.
This is true. This is why I said it's in my opinion.
I mean, they when you think about that, like polarity, right? One's the extreme of the other. The further apart your extremes are, the more likely you are to switch between them. The easier it is to switch between them. So I just think that's an interesting point. And yes, I know it's your opinion, even when it's wrong. But I'm just kidding. I have no opinion on that specific thing.
It's all good. So all right, so how would you, if you were to come up with, for the point of discussion, right, for the sake of discussion, a simplified definition of divinity, what would you say it is?
Something of God.
Okay, okay. And that would be like kind of like the direct translation or meaning of divine.
I mean, I've looked up the definition of divinity before, and like that's literally what it comes up with. It's something of God.
Okay. Calling it the all, going that way of referencing it. Okay, okay. So, divinity, then, in this case, for the sake of the discussion for this evening, then divinity is going to be interchangeable for the sake of discussion between divine and infernal. So, when we discuss the divine, we're going to be talking about the concept of both divine and infernal by using the singular divine. Even though, depending on path and things like that, we use different terminology. For the sake of the discussion, we're going to leave it at that. I'd like to say we're going to leave God out of the discussion, but somehow I think he's going to be directly involved this time around. So yeah, so the next part here, like to kind of dive a little bit further in then, right? So exploration of how divinity is viewed in LHP versus RHP and polytheistic paths. So also, for sake of discussion, for understanding here, clarification, when we say LHP, when we say left-hand path, we are not specifically talking about demonolatry or Satanism in specific. Yes, both of those can be, for the most part, inherently left-hand path. But when we say left-hand path, we're talking about the philosophical overlay, much like the right-hand path. The right-hand path is its own philosophical overlay, okay? Which is basically leave it in the divine's hands. So I think if we're going to dive into the differences between divinity in terms of talking about the left-hand path and the right-hand path, I think that's probably like the most important difference to kind of talk about, because right-hand path is leaving like certain things in the hands of the divine, right? Like saying like, okay, this is out of my control. Like this is kind of like,
Jesus take the wheel.
yeah, right. Exactly. And left-hand path is much more hands-on, fix your own shit kind of thing. It's like you can reach out to the divine for guidance or, shining a little bit of light down the path, but at the end of the day, you're the one that has to put one foot in front of the other, right? To make any changes happen, regardless of whether you can control the outcome or not. And the right-hand path, like Mystic so eloquently put it, is Jesus take the wheel. Hopefully the holes in your wrists don't, cause an accident. So, I mean, Mystic, would you agree with that premise?
Yeah, easily. I think not that Google's the scholar in the room, but if you do simple searches, that's kind of the general decision is, one is a seeking externally to guide, and the other is seeking to guide yourself so that you can internally make your next move.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
And so it's one of the reasons, like, left-hand path was unknown to me 4 years ago, and I consider myself pantheistic, but left-hand path fits within that very well, because none of the, I hate saying access, it sounds so sterile, but none of my use of, not like use either, engagement, whatever the hell it is, whatever the right word is. I work with Cornunus and have for many years, Pan, Hearn the Hunter, among others, Caradwin, Ellen of the Ways. There's so many. And those are ways that I try to commune better or align myself better with things so that then I am clearer to make better choices because I'm part of all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's, to me, that's kind of inherently left-hand path, because my desire is to utilize my spirituality, not just, which is the other thing for me with right-hand path. It's not about God helping me. It's about the the God or the all connecting with me and me helping me,
Mm-hmm.
and then me helping others.
So it's kind of like
The
ask not what you
different
what
perspective.
ask not what God can do for you, but what you can do for God.
And not for God. It's that it's maybe more, ask not what God can do for me, ask what God can help me do for everyone.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now,
In my circle, like in
mhm,
my life, my thing.
right. Now, how about your take on what we've said about left hand versus right hand?
Yeah. It's funny. I had a YouTube comment not so long ago. You've seen it. It was one that was basically saying, like, if your left hand path, why are you reaching out to anything outside of yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And using all these big words to try and make me look like I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So yeah, it's a thing of like, I think people take the left hand path thing too far when it comes to, like, you know, being your own god. That doesn't mean that you can't work with anything.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that you can't have a spiritual side to your practice. So but you know, the way in which you connect with your divinity is is different. You know, I don't go to demons and ask my problems to be fixed. You know, I ask for gnosis.
Mm-hmm.
I ask for you know, instead of like for example, you know, say for example, I don't have a lot of money and you know, I need some money. Yeah, I can say, you know, help me out with some cash, and they might. But how long is that gonna last?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a case of, what can I do to improve my financial situation? Help me to see what I'm missing. What can change this for me? And you know, whether that's them helping me by inspiring some creativity within me,
Mm-hmm.
or helping me to improve how I appear to other people through what I do, the way I speak, the way I look, things like that. It feels a lot more strategic. It feels like a lot more focus on actually solving the problem rather than being a victim and saying, help me, help me, help me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also not a thing of like, I'm just going to give this to you and not take any responsibility for it at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want you to show me what responsibility I need to take here.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I think with the left-hand path, there's a part where I think we struggle to accept when we don't have power in a situation, when there are things beyond our control, when there are things that we cannot fix ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Usually when it involves situations where other people have the control.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that can be a difficult thing, because we're not the type to, like, as they say in 12 steps, hand it over.
Mm-hmm.
You know, turn your will and your life over to the care of God. We don't do that. So when we do have something out of our control, it can be difficult to have that trust that things will be okay, because we're so used to being so accountable for our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, before I ramble on, I'm probably gonna just summarize it with that.
Okay. Okay. I mean, you got some good stuff coming out there. Like, if you kept going, I think it would have been fine. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I agree with, like, you know, both sides of this. Now, The one part of this I'm curious about. So we do talk a lot about on this channel, like the polarizing differences between right-hand path and left-hand path, because it is easy to discuss the kind of polarizing differences. Now, off the top of my head, I'm going to be completely honest. I can't really think of a path off the top of my head that does this. But Mystic, help me out here. Can you think of anything that kind of incorporates both left and right hand path concepts simultaneously?
I don't think so. I personally believe they're mutually exclusive.
Do you think that you
If there was a middle ground, it would be something else.
okay?
Just because I think and this could just be my misunderstanding too, because I'm by no means an academic in any of this. Is again, to me, and maybe it's too general of a definition, but right hand path seeks an external validation to what they do, and left hand path seeks no validation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about that. It's just they can't. Like you can't. I don't feel like I could be left hand path and just a little right hand path, because then I would be missing the point, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and not a bad thing. I mean, if whatever works, whatever,
We should
whatever
start a
works
new
for you.
path. It's just
I do think
Hmm.
I do think the right hand path and left hand path are if you go back far enough, are the same thing. But again, that's more of a Kabbalion type thinking, like a hermetic idea of these things are talking about the same thing in a different way,
Mm-hmm.
and we're screwed up by people, not by the energies. Like, you know what I mean?
Agreed.
And people screw it up. That's
I think people get confused when it comes to the left-hand path and the right-hand path, because I think when people think left-hand path, they think Satanism, they think demonolatry, and things like that. But you can be right-hand path and work with demons.
Catholics. I'm just, I know what you mean. I'm being funny, but yes.
Like King Solomon being a prime example, like one of the most like renowned occult figures when it comes to demonolatry was right-hand path.
Mm-hmm.
His whole narrative was biblical. Like, yeah, he had influence from other cultures in order to write his work, but he was inherently right-hand path.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't a priest doing an exorcism be working with demons technically, but left hand or right hand path?
Yeah, I mean, even like there's a part in the Bible. Don't ask me to quote exactly the. I feel like it's Exodus somewhere, but I could be wrong.
Most of the good ones are.
Where Christ actually summoned Beelzebub to assist with an exorcism, because Beelzebub is quite a high-ranked demon, and therefore he's known to be able to help when you've got a tricky spirit in your house. I've called on him once or twice when I've had to get rid of something. So yeah, and Christ said something along the lines of like sort of I cannot remember it verbatim at all, but the gist of it was understanding what you're working with. What you kind of work with the same kind of thing to fully understand what you're trying to do here. So yeah, and everyone was like, what the actual fuck are you doing? Which is why I believe personally that Christ was a bit of an underdog, and he was a little bit LHP, really, when you think about it, because he was very sort of like individualistic with the way he went about doing things.
I mean, yeah, to a certain degree. I mean, at least for the time period.
Yeah, for the time, obviously not now, because we've just like completely distorted any kind of remnants of who, if he existed, of who he was.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing that I used to always say about Jesus, I mean, was like, if Jesus actually existed, I mean, Jesus wasn't, God's only begotten son to start a religion called Christianity based off of a title, which means the anointed one, right? He came to tell the Jews, like, hey, you're kind of dropping the ball here.
Mm.
You know, you don't need to be telling people what they need to be wearing on fucking Wednesdays, man, or what time they need to take a shit. Like, you're going a little overboard. And so, like, yeah, I mean, that was the gist of like what Christ was laying down. If you really kind of go through, like, if you want to summarize like his teachings through what's told in the Bible, is, you know, he just kind of strolled through fucking, you know, Jewland. God, that was really bad. I am so sorry. Jerusalem. That was so bad.
The points discussed in this podcast are not necessarily the points that are believed by those. How's it go? We need a disclaimer, y'all, quick. I mean, I maybe we can get back on track. I don't know, but the camera's shaking. It's hilarious. I do believe that Jesus is a historical figure. I think he existed. I think he has a mother and a father, and I think there's a whole lot more to that story.
Yeah.
But, you know, the men got a hold of it and had to be pure. And fucked it up.
You good? No.
That was good.
Oh, damn.
Didn't you say something about monetizing early on? Like, there went that.
Well, I mean, the problem is now I have a vision in my head of like something like Disneyland with like fucking rides and shit.
All I can picture is South Park.
I just thought of something awful, which I cannot say on stream.
I think we're on the same wavelength, and I can't say it either. Woo. All right, I'm good. I am so sorry about that slip up. I really did mean to say Jerusalem. I don't know why it came out.
I don't know you.
Oh, all right.
First time on the show, guys. This is crazy.
Fucking tree sounds like say it, Tyra.
Say
it. Say the thing.
Say the thing.
I had an image come to mind when he said a sign saying something. And if you can't get what came into my head from that, then I don't know what more I can say. You said a sign, you know, over, you know, a gate or whatever. And that's, yeah.
Okay, all right. I get right. Yeah, we're on the same, yeah.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Mystic gets it. Oh.
I'm not.
Because you said Disneyland on the side, and I was like, no!
I'm sticking with my South Park. Ooh.
Oh. I really, really hate censorship, because honestly, if we dived into this, it would be some real funny shit. Anyway. Fuck. So anyway, the point with Jesus was the idea, at least summarizing it, like generalizing it, was to sit there and say, like, hey, you know, you guys there's too many restrictions. You're trying to control everything that everyone does all the time. And there's a reason why in the Bible, like, I find this absolutely hilarious, that in the Bible, Christians and Catholics all agree that the Jews are God's chosen people. Then why the fuck are you Christian? It doesn't make much sense. It really doesn't. Right? The way you came up from that table, it looks like Brad just had like a quickie.
I had to plug something in, and then my
yes, you did. I'm sure you did have to plug something in.
Plug it in, and then my chair got stuck. Okay, I'm good. We're good. Much better now, I should say. That doesn't help, does it?
That's great. This is actually why I don't let myself out in public often. My humor is way too crude for PC public. Yeah. Yeah,
I had to plug in my
100%
mini
there.
heater again.
Yeah, sure. That's what you had to plug in.
Mm-hmm.
You're heating
Or
something
look, you
up.
know, I like them all sides. I'll take a mini heater, a big heater, small heater. Doesn't matter.
Chad, don't you love how like Mystic can make anything, absolutely anything, a penis reference,
We don't discriminate.
right?
We don't discriminate.
Decks and heaters, right?
Plugging it in.
Right, plugging it in.
Plug
Just don't
it
get it too
in,
wet.
plug it in. Just give me a microphone. Oh, it feels so good.
Dude, it's 70 degrees where you're. How? Why? Dude, send that thing to me. It's like 30 in the house. Um, so fucking Rook with the fucking peaches.
Stupid.
Rook getting that booty.
I love it because he's hearing everything a few minutes after we're saying it, so it's funny watching him laugh like 5 minutes later.
So anyway, moving forward, so I do agree that like kind of like trying to combine right hand path and left hand path like as it stands now would be kind of difficult, which is why I was kind of trying to think of anything that kind of incorporated aspects of both of them simultaneously. Like not necessarily like I can hear him laughing, not necessarily the the full on premises of both of them overlaying each other because I don't think that that's necessarily possible. But if anyone has any questions about what we're talking about, just go ahead and visit Jewland.
With your sign.
Right, with the sign. Just
don't. Sorry.
You know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of SpongeBob with the rainbow thing. I should Photoshop that and put what Dyra's thinking in her head on it.
You've got to go with the South Park episode where Cartman buys the entire park, fun park, just to keep it away from Kyle. And then we're not going to go into the rest of that one. That will get us.
It's South Park.
Yeah.
We can't go in the rest of it.
A lot of water sports in that episode.
Yep. But you thought that was funny too,
No
didn't
jet
you? The whole SpongeBob thing.
Yeah.
Just superimpose him right in front. You can see everything behind him. The last ride.
Right. Gonna get demonetized in a minute.
We're past demonetized. We're devolving.
Right. All right. So the next part of this.
Love it.
The next part of this. All right. So here we go. Yeah. So the role of gods, demons, and spirits in LHP and their counterparts in other traditions. Now, this one I'm going to go with Dyra first because there's one entity in specific that you keep mentioning that people keep trying to take this one demonic entity and turn it into like this pagan god. Ishtar, I think it is, or
Astaroth.
Okay.
So Astaroth in her goetic form. If we look into the history of Astaroth, it looks like her roots come from Sumerian, Babylonia, fucking Canaanite. Yeah, that she's got a lot of like potential historical roots, right? So to the Canaanite, she was known as Astarte. To the Sumerians, she was Inanna, and to the Babylonians, she was Ishtar. Now, Inanna and Ishtar kind of became as one when the Sumerians and the Babylonian cultures kind of merged together during the Babylonian exile. So now, when we work with Astaroth today, there are a lot of people still referring to her as Ishtar and Inanna and things like that. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's her history. But what you need to understand is that deities are not just because like they have different emanations doesn't mean that all of their emanations are the same and work the same. Astaroth is a goetic entity. You do not work with Astaroth the same way as if you were to work with Ishtar. Because the Goetia is an entirely separate magical system. Now, I can hear the cat meowing. So, yeah, in terms of... He's saying, yes, I agree. Yeah, so it's...
over there.
I feel like the reason for that is because people don't want to accept that demons are demons, basically. They think that demon is a dirty word and that all of the demons were once ancient gods and that Christianity turned them into these demonic things. Like, yes, that is the case in some situations. A lot, actually. Christians did bastardize a lot of the ancient gods, but some of the demons of the Goetia are just demons, and like I said earlier, they are fine with it. It's a bit like, you know, working with... We know that Lucifer, for example, has deific masks. But it doesn't mean that, like, they're all the same and they all work the same. Mm-hmm. So in terms of, like, their roles, it's like, yeah, you can call upon them for different things. Like, Lucifer's sort of maybe more angelic aspect might be better to work with something than, you know, a much sort of, like, darker aspect of him. So... yeah, I don't know, I find it really irritating when people be like, yeah, Astaroth is Ishtar, like... historically, yes, but, like, you're you literally have Astaroth's sigil drawn out that you just put blood on, and you're like, yeah, I'm working with Ishtar. No, you're not. No, you fucking not.
Yeah, I mean, I like to break that down. Like, I've said this a million times, but I'll go into a little bit more detail on what I mean, right? So I consider the names that we use for the entities that we work with or call upon or revere as like phone numbers, right? So you can call a different number and still reach the same entity. Now, what do I mean by reaching the same entity? And this is to go into Dyra's point here. So let's say you have a business line and a personal line, right? I'll use myself as an example. If you call my business line, how I'm going to answer the phone is going to be very different than how I answer the phone if you call my personal line. If you call a business line, like, hi, how can I help you today? What is it that I can do for you? What can I get for you? You know, whatever, stuff like that. Very polite. And how you're going to respond to me is going to be according to that, right? If you call my personal, I mean, what the fuck do you want? Why are you calling me? What do you need? Like, what can I do for you? Come on, let's hurry up. We going to meet up? We're not going to meet up? What the fuck's going on? You're calling the same person, the response is slightly different, right? Depending on what you need, right? You want to have a business interaction or do you want to have a personal interaction, right? So
I think the business one sounds a bit more polite.
I mean, you know, it is what it is, right? You know, I'm sure Samael is a little bit more polite than Lucifer is. You know,
depends.
So, I mean, at least that's, I mean, it's an oversimplification, right, of what we're talking about, but it's essentially the same concept. You have these entities that have crossover connections throughout history. Some of them are bastardizations, you know, perversions, whatever, you know, what they used to be. Some of them are just kind of like outright different. And in the sense of like how they're represented, you know, in their stories, but in the crossover comes later. And I think that interaction, it changes, right? That interaction changes, depending on which name you're calling on. Like I'll, you know, personally, if I'm working with Samael and I'm going to work with Lucifer, you know, in different occasions, right? I feel like the way that I'm going to work with them is going to be different because what they're going to offer is going to be different, regardless of that connection. Go ahead, Mystic.
No, I was just waiting for you to finish. No rush. That I was just it fits exactly into my thoughts and feelings of I said earlier, I've worked with Carnunos, I've worked with Pan and Hearn the Hunter. A lot of people consider them the same energy. They are not.
Mm-hmm.
They certainly have overlapping energies, but when and this could just be me not knowing a lot in some cases, but I feel like if I'm working with an energy or something like Carnunos to give it thought and to give it form so that I can do something or work something or learn something about myself or the world that I'm in, that energy belongs to that form and the cultures and things that built up that form.
Mm-hmm.
Same, and it's its own energy. Is it very similar to Pan? Yeah, but that was built up by a whole different culture and a whole different system. Yes, it's similar and it helps me as a human to compare them together, but I work with them differently the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a lot of sense when you apply it that way. Like, there's just so many. Like, if you look at any of the triple god or triple goddess forms, they are all so similar because they carry the same energy. They all come from the same place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the energy has been, like, I don't know the right word, compounded, gathered, together, whatever.
Yeah.
Based on the culture and energy they are, and they have very different energies. I've never thought about it from like the Ishtar and Nana kind of thing, but that makes a lot more sense to hear it. So that's a very neat. Neat's not the right word. That's a very profound, I think, way to consider it because it helps me understand. And I don't even know why sometimes back in the day I would pick Carnunos over Pan for different things. If I'm going wild, it's Pan. If I'm going wild, it's Carnunos. There's a difference. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right, I think we've got one more sub point to kind of go over before we call this. Let's see here. Yeah, and I mean, I think that this is kind of like a fair conclusion to kind of talk about. Like, so the big kind of closing point here is how these different views kind of affect, ritual work and things of that nature. So, and I think that this one is pretty self-evident, right? Like when we talk right-hand path, I mean, look at Christianity and look at, Catholicism, go to church. That, I mean, at the end of the day, that's a fucking ritual. Regardless of the fact that whether they like it to be called a ritual or not, it is a ritual. I mean, Mark 5, which is in the chat. What's up, Mark? He would definitely agree. Say, yes, it is a ritual. So Mark, I think I've told you this before. He's our resident Christian. Right. So, hey, I like being able to say that. Like, I really hope we don't get another Christian in the group because I like saying Mark is the resident Christian.
Well, then he'd just be the senior resident Christian. That's okay.
There you go. There you go. All right, Mark, get one of your friends to come in here so you can become the senior resident. So yeah. So I think that's the perfect example of right-hand path ritual, right? Is kind of like going over the top with the reverence being given to said deity, right? Like everything revolves around the deity in ritual when it comes to the right-hand path, right? Everything revolves around the deity in all aspects. Left-hand path, it's about the self. Yes, you're communicating with an entity, you're showing reverence to an entity, but it isn't all about the entity. It's about self. It's about self-advancement. It's about moving yourself forward. And I think in there lies the primary difference when we look at ritual in right-hand path and left-hand path. Mystic, what do you think? It looks like you're kind of contemplating.
Yeah. I was just thinking potential missed opportunity for future discussion that we all, I kind of know the difference between devotion, worship, and working with. I've recently heard a lot of people talking about how they hate when people say I'm working with an energy or an entity or a deity. I get it. I can understand that. I like saying that though.
Same.
I like how that feels because I am. Who am I to demand from an energy? But as we are all part of the same all, I think our goals can be aligned sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I like working with, but that's starting to become a thing I'm seeing a lot in small groups where they're like, "It's not, you're not working with them. Who do you think you are?" kind of thing. I'm like, I think I'm of the same energy and universe that the deities and divinity that I work with are. That's who I think I am. But I've always hated worship.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels unnatural. It feels inappropriate. It feels aggressive. It feels demeaning. I don't know. There's so much about it. Again, we could talk about that all day too. But that's a big difference, I think. I can't say between right hand path and left hand path because I'm pretty sure there's probably people that worship deity on both sides. But I think it's more prevalent in the right hand path because it's again giving that energy over to something else. And so when you come to working with or doing your ritual or having the engagement with your deity, I see a lot more left hand people, left hand path people, myself included, almost with a reverence to the energy, right, or to the deity or to whatever you're working with. It's a respect, and you expect that respect back because we have some energy of our own that we can kick ass with sometimes, and I like that. That is
Mm-hmm.
something that I find is good if you know what you're doing. But that's another kind of difference I think I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't really like the word worship either. Like, if someone says that, like, oh, you know, I worship Satan, yeah, it just feels a bit weird to me. It feels too submissive.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, I don't want to feel like I'm submitting to anything in my practice because my will is what's important. And if I'm worshipping something that's going to impact my will, I feel anyway. But in terms of respect and reverence, absolutely, like, you know, making offerings and things like that, it's great. And there's it helps to form a connection. And when I say offerings, I don't mean necessarily like wine and things like that. Like, yeah, sure, they can be helpful to implement into rituals. But you know, I think the best offering you can give is one, your time, because that's something that we have that is very limited. In comparison to the infinity of what we are working with. And also through action, through, you know, taking on board what you know, the guidance and the wisdom that they give us, and then putting that into practice. Because it's like, yes, I'm listening to you. Like, it's not like, oh yes, I'm doing what you're telling me to do. It's like I'm receptive. This is a two-way thing. I'm appreciating your guidance by following it, because I believe that aligns with my will.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I also like what Mark 5 put in the chat. Is any act can be infused with intention, therefore a ritual. In my view, the difference between LHP and RHP is related to the will.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that statement, and
Like it.
yeah, I like it. I like it. Thank you very much for that, Mark.
Between that and the way Dyra just explained that, I think that's probably the best way that I've heard it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, everyone, that is going to conclude this week's episode of Apocrypha. We are back full swing tomorrow. Satan and Coffee will finally be back on the air, so please don't miss it. It will not be canceled again. Satan and Coffee tomorrow, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, just to make sure it's after whatever Mystic is doing, if he decides to do it. So
We probably won't because we're moving stuff tomorrow, but we'll see. We've missed a lot, but we'll get it back on track eventually.
Yeah, I've missed quite a few episodes of Satan and Coffee. I feel horrible. So definitely need to.
Satan doesn't care. He'll be fine.
Yeah, I know Satan doesn't give a shit, but I do.
He'll
Worship
be glad
can
when it's
be
back on,
thought
but he's
of.
okay. He can handle it.
Okay, so Mark's idea in worship is as follows. Worship can be thought of as completing a circuit. We receive life and energy from above, then we give it back. the circle of life, right? It's just now we need to find Simba. No, I vibe with it, Mark. I do. Yeah, I mean, I'm being a jackass about it, but I vibe with it, man. So, all right. With that being said, let's see what else. Which skills? The free trial is kaput. We shut that down a while ago. For those of you that did provide feedback, thank you. For those that didn't provide feedback, you missed the point. You didn't get the memo, and pay attention better next time. So there's that part of it. But we are definitely still working on it. We obviously pushed out the launch date for it, the hard launch, because we want to make sure that we have a solid product for you guys to take advantage of. Also, I think we might need to find another person for the herbal magic.
Herbalism?
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on with Dragon Dancer, but I think she's just really busy.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for her right now.
Yeah.
I think she's becoming one with the woods too.
Oh, okay. Well, if she's recording any of that. So if you know anybody mystic, let us know. Also, if you want to give me a checklist regarding anything tax-wise, because I'm here now, so we can talk to the accountant. We shouldn't be talking about this stuff live, but we are. We're getting too much detail. So yeah, which skills is still a thing. Also, Dyra has recently launched a clothing line.
I have.
Demonora,
yes.
Demonora.com. So go check that out. There's also it's not just clothing, it's also witchy supplies. So candles and oils, all made by yours truly. Not yours truly would be me.
Mm-hmm.
This one here, this wonderful creature. Makes all the stuff herself in-house, literally. So go check that out. So because you can order stuff from there. Don't be scared about the prices. Yes, it's all in pounds, but I think I converted it to dollars. Yeah, so I converted everything to dollars, so all the prices are in dollars. So you guys can check it out. Get some stuff made by Dyra. Get some of the clothing that's being designed and put together. Also, she's got her own personal services that she provides and things like that. blackmagicdyra.com.
I'm nearly fully booked up to Christmas, so if you want a slot, take it while you can.
Right, and if you can't say, what'd you call me? And if you can't get in with her, I also provide some occult services. I'm more focused on shadow work. It's kind of like the direction that I've decided to go with everything. As far as ritual work is concerned, things like that. I don't want to do ritual work that is focusing on getting things for people. I want to focus on doing ritual work for people that is going to help you develop and grow as a person. So like if you want to kind of get out of a rut or something like that, like psychologically, writer's block, I don't know, something of that nature, then, I'll work with that. If you're looking for money or for baneful magic, or you want to hex somebody, or you want, that redhead with the fucking eye patch and the peg leg down at the 7-Eleven to fall in love with you and suck your dick, that's not the type of stuff I'm doing. So
That was awfully specific. Did something happen to you this week?
Yeah,
That was-
we'll
that was
let you
very
know once
specific.
streams ended, Mystic. We'll tell you all about it.
Oh my god.
You know, also divination, so shadow readings, things like that. So if you guys want anything like dealing with kind of like, you know, the shadow work or anything of that nature, then I am providing that. Also, just to throw it out there, graphic design services, I'm going to be booting that back up. So yeah, if anybody needs anything graphic design wise, I'm booting that back up. You can go through the same website, adiasday.com, to look into that. Even custom artwork for your altar, like if you want something custom done for your altar and have it turned into a product, I'll make that happen. I will do custom products for people. So just let me know. There's going to be, so there would be a charge of the service of creating the artwork and then the charge of the product itself. So yeah, adiasday.com if you guys, anybody's interested in that. Did I miss anything?
No.
No? All right.
No.
So, yep, that's it. So, Adversary of My Adversary every Friday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Apocrypha, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, Saturdays. And Satan and Coffee, Sundays at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, so be there or be squared. And as always, everyone, hail thy fucking self. See you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.